All right, and welcome, Candy.
Thank you. Let's see. Does it make sense for me to stand here? Hi, everyone. I am Candy Chan. I'm the creator of Project Subway NYC. In case you find it, you want to know why, I try to make a play with Project Runway, but like nobody get it. Like they just thought it's they thought it's very straightforward, so that works too. Um, I am an architect who has been trying to understand New York City subway stations by creating 3D drawings like these. Um, and today I want to talk to you about New York City and the subway system, art versus information, my project, my thoughts on maps and apps, and a little bit of demo. So New York City has one of the most complicated subway systems in the world, and we have this map that we're familiar with that represents each station with a dot. And with the dot, what we don't get is everything from the smell, the sound, the action, the music, the culture, all the space there is. And so I think I want to look into this and see how people understand these spaces. And when you look at this neighborhood map, you have the outline of the station. And if you look up your phone, it will give you a little pink outline of the station with a blue dot line that shows you how to walk from the station to your destination. But it doesn't give too much about how do you get from the moment you get off your train to the moment you actually start that blue dot line. I think that piece of information is missing. And so, I keep thinking about how people understand the city. Um, the signage isn't always helpful when the area you're getting out of, the streets are not orthogonal, and two, when the streets are not numbered. Combine the two, you might as well not give me any information. I wouldn't know where I am anyway, and I will get out and ask people. So I started looking into some case studies. This is from a children's book, and it says the original subway map designer was Italian. And the reason it matters is because he was eventually inspired by spaghetti. Now, I don't know if that's true, but it did got me thinking, right? Like information has to be designed. Nobody said subway maps lines have to be straight or curved or whatever. It's always a conscious decision on the designer's part. And that's kind of like my way of approaching it. Can we reinvent the wheel, or have different ways of representing things? This is a very interesting book I read, called Explainer. It tried to explain very, very complicated things with the 300 most used words in the English language. So it's talking about like nuclear explosion to how the zipper in your jacket works by words like a and or and the or book. Like it's very, it gets you thinking about how people communicate, um, like how you can communicate the most effectively as you can. Um, I looked into the older subway maps and also some alternative ways of representing the lines. Someone proposed actually each line actually get its own line, and it's not actually the tracks, it's the line. Some more organic and artistic ways of showing maps. And this is one of my favorite. Ohio is on your left, and this is actually just a Union Square station map. And of course, I don't only look at subway stations, just look at in general how people express how they feel about the city by illustrations. And also some more serious looking examples from this one, like in Japan. And so, the on the left, it's a map from Hong Kong, where I'm from, and it's a more sterile, serious looking map. But that has a lot of information. It has some responsibility on being accurate and being up to date. And on the right, we have this more fun, more organic illustration with some more personality. And I was hoping I could do a combination of both. So then I started my project, started a website, and I took my clipboard and pen and paper and started drawing the stations one at a time. I counted the tiles, I counted the steps, I just walked the stations basically, and I made sketches like these, and then I put the information in the computer model, which I'll show you guys in a bit. This is the first series of drawings that I exported. They were mostly about the station and the street grid above, so it has some street numbers and um, the basic outline of the station and the lines. This is the second series of drawings, which I try to make them more about the city. So I added the names of the buildings, the names of the businesses like Duane Reade, uh, and I colored the platforms. And then this is my third series where I try to include more than one station in the drawing, and I colored the tracks instead of the platform. So this one is in Brooklyn. You can trace along the yellow line. You can see how the Court Street Borough Hall station is connected to J Street Metro Tech, for example. I have an Instagram series where I make collages, and I also have some 3D models on my website where people can spin around, which I will also show you guys in a bit. So that was what I've been doing for a while, but then at some point I just, realized that a lot of people actually don't understand my drawings. And so I do realize subway stations are not the only kind of architecture that are hard to understand. Airports, malls are also examples of, you know, places where even if you give people a good diagram as best you can, they still don't understand it. So the question is, how do we combine, this kind of complicated 3D drawings, because the architecture itself is complicated, and more simplified signage and potentially apps on your phone as well to help people navigate. So I'm from Hong Kong, where we have these kind of lettering system for our exits. So instead of, we don't name our train lines with letters, we name our exits with them. So, you can go to, say, this is what, 10 Hudson Yards. You can say, you get out of exit C, and C would branch out into C1 and C2. And let's say, so you have to get out of C1 and walk 2 blocks from there. So like in that scenario, you don't, a layperson doesn't need to know where north is, or, how, yeah. So that's one solution. Uh, in Japan, you have a little monitor in the train, and it changes every station. It tells you after you get out of the train what the platform, like what's on the platform and what to expect. And if you want the escalator, it will be on your left, kind of thing. Of course, we have some local examples. The Efficient Passenger Project was a project where people put up signs on the L train platform to prep people for the transfer. The interesting thing is they prep you for the transfer, they don't prep you for the exit. But that was taken down after the day. There are people who install north arrows outside the stations. There are apps. So exit strategy is the one that I don't even know it well enough, but it preps you both for, no, it only preps you which part of the train to stand for the best exit. I don't know if you know where to transfer. Anyway, and then we have flock navigation, which was designed for people in wheelchairs. And so, moving forward, so those were things I look at, and I keep thinking about how, uh, on top of just being art on the wall, what my drawings how can they help? This is a student from NYU, and he took one of my maps and started mapping where the musicians are. And I think it would be really nice if he can, like, if someone can do it. I don't know if there's a good way system of keeping tabs of the musicians, but you can, they change every day, right? If someone can say, October 11th, Union Square, upper platform, I saw someone sang really well, I want to connect with them or hire them for a concert or whatever. But that would have to be, every day. You can't just say in general that platform belongs to that person. So I don't know how that can work, but I think it's a good potential and good thing to see happen. Moving forward to my crazy ideas, I think one way to use my drawings to, do some kind of wayfinding boot camp or amazing race where people have to read the maps and find treasures in the way stations. And the other one is to turn Kanye West into a Pokemon. So he would only appear on the west side of a station. So you gotta, every time you have to get out of the right side to catch him. So I think it's a good way to engage the public, but I think it would gonna clog up the station pretty bad. So that's an idea. So that's it for my slides. So this is transit techie. So I try to include part of the. I'm just gonna show you guys my website and how I did certain things. You guys probably gonna like think it's silly. So the way I did my drawings, I start getting the buildings from Cat Mapper, and then I find extra information from Oasis, and I look into Google Earth to see what the buildings look like to add extra information. So what I have would be something like this. So this is no, this is Times Square. This guy, this gray, oh, I can't click on it. The gray boxes are the buildings. And then the blue lines is what I add manually. Like this is the New York Times building. It has the cross braces, and I think that's a big character of the building. That's why I added them. Port Authority also has a bunch of triangles. So these are all like manual and my own interpretation of what, like if you look at this, um, like at the end of the day, it's really about the station. But then if you zoom into New York Times building, you see a little bit of that detail, that kind of thing. Um, and yeah, the framework of these buildings I download, and then below these are what I build. The interesting thing though, if you look at the model, can I find it? So this is the model that you can spin around. How am I doing on time? Okay. So this is closer to the real life heights, although I guessed at it. Like basically I assume one floor from another is kind of between 10 and 20 feet to like this is, my best guess as at what it is in real life. Oh. So I got you know, this many stations and my website if you want to take a look. But so when I export drawings like these, I kind of exaggerate the heights a little bit because like if you want to think about, I want to show how there's a 40-story tall building on top of a 2-story deep station. The proportions are very hard to like squish inside a rectangle. So it's kind of a lot of manipulating what matters and what like this is it okay, right? But so there's that. This is a lot of people are going to be upset about this. So I used a leaflet um, built in, but it's not geographic information. It's just an image viewer. That makes sense. I have the code, but I don't know if that matters. So this is a leaflet code if someone wants to talk to me about it and tell me how I can actually make it into a geographic thing. Does that make sense? But so I kind of didn't like it as much because it's like you zoom in once or twice and that's it. So in my other series, I did clusters. So this is the one where it's another image viewer that I found. You click on it, you have full screen, and you have like a more, um, different scales of zoom, and the closer you can get would be. Oh, this is the closest you can get, but you have, you can pan around and basically you can have full screen as opposed to the other one where it's just like a 1,000 pixel rectangle. Um, Anything else? No, I think that's all I have for presentation part. Oh, thank you, thank you. Mhm. So you're asking me how how I connect the dots, right? Basically, so like there are a few things I know. I forgot how, but I know well, from Wikipedia, each train is about 2 blocks long, right? So when the station is called 14th Street, the the train either spans between 12th and 14th. I mean, at most, it will be either from 12 to 14 or 14 to 16. It can't go longer than, at least the platform won't. Like sometimes the stations do, even further than that. But like you have some gauge of, if the train ends there and then I walk out of the station onto the corner of the street, I know that's where it is. Like there's some anchor points I find, and then but most of the time in Manhattan, actually, I think all of the train tracks are right underneath the street. It's almost always centered on the street. There's that, and then like you go to Fulton, it's tied to a mall. There's always something there, if that makes sense. It's either you see a library or you see, and then the closer scale. I'm 5'2" tall, so there are a few things you can learn about yourself and how many steps is how many, and then you connect at the end. And I'll tell you this much: is none of this is accurate. It's not. It's.
In the interest of time, let's move on to the next speaker.